No, she's been a Queens, especially, the Bronx.
All right, just tell me, like, what did you hear and see this afternoon, and did you notice anything in the shooting?
Well, the only thing I could get from it was that I heard pop, 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 and I was shocked. I was like, what the hell was that? And then when I came outside, there was a group of kids across the street, and one of the kids was shot. And I couldn't believe it. She was just laying on the floor, looking straight up. They were putting pressure on the neck. And hopefully, I hope everything is good for her, man.
What makes you feel here? Because like many residents here, they tell camera crews and reporters, there's rarely any news in this neighborhood. Like, what does it make you feel as a longtime resident that something atrocious like this could ever happen?
I mean, hey, you usually hear stuff like this happen in the other boroughs, but here? This is a family area. I mean, there's restaurants, movie theater, nothing but schools in this area. And for something like this to happen, it's a big shock to the neighborhood. Big shock.
Do you have like any kids?
No kids. But we know most of the kids in these areas. They're all growing up. They all grew up. You see them running up and down all the time. And as a matter of fact, this happened around that time when the kids got out of school. This was around, I believe, 4 o'clock.
So what should the city do about it? About the spate of gun violence? In areas like this, it used to be that it would be like in sketchy areas, but now it's happening everywhere. Like, what should the city do about it?
Nowhere safe, especially the way crime has been surging up in the city. I mean, they need to crack down. They need to go back to certain things and crack down on these criminals to do the right thing. Because people can't live like this. Because hey, look at, this is in a small area in Fresh Meadows. If that can happen here, well, the commission and the mayor, they need to get things done.
Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem.
What's that? All right. Oh, I was that's what folks are on doing. All right. From a distance, a block away. I live on the last building over here by the Applebee's. I heard gunshots. I told my son, come inside. And I happen to know the kids in the neighborhood. So I'm walking down here and I saw a lady out of the car and she's on the phone trying to call the cops. I noticed a group of kids from the neighborhood over here by the side of the wall. And sure enough, it was one of the kids from the neighborhood that got shot.
Recognized?
That I recognized that got shot. A young girl, shot in the neck, laying down on the floor.
Was she conscious?
She looked like she was ready to pass out. She was in shock. She said that she couldn't move her legs. I immediately called the ambulance. I called the cops, and around like between 4 to 5 o'clock. And then the other kids when they heard the gunshots, they took off, and they found the 2 other kids that got shot from the group.
Did you witness a vehicle?
They said that there was a gray vehicle tinted out that stopped next to the group, came out the car, and they shot at these kids for just calling names. I mean, I don't understand this. You know?
How often does this happen in this area?
Never happens in Fresh Meadows. I've been living here for 30 years and never seen this happen. My son is 12 years old. I don't want this to happen. And he could have been in my court. These kids hang out in my court. They hang in front of my building. This could have happened over here instead of over here.
So based on what you're describing, it sounds like the kids in the group had some previous words with the people in the car,
Correct.
and the people in the car stopped and retaliated.
Correct. That's from what I understand.
Schools here?
These kids live in the neighborhood. They're not bad kids. You know, they're not gang members. You're close in the neighborhood. They don't leave Fresh Meadows. They hang here. This is where they grew up at.
What's your sense of the problems that we're seeing elsewhere in the city coming here to your neighborhood?
It's getting worse. I got this hotel that's over here with inmates that are, home. You got people walking around the neighborhood now that I never seen before. And it's getting a little worse. You got these kids running around with guns now. It's getting worse. I'm worried about.
Let them answer the question. Just let them finish the
I'm
thought.
just worried. I'm just worried for my own kids right now because of what happened just now. I know for a fact they're gonna start beefing back and forth, and it's not gonna let go. It's the beginning of the summer, and you got 3 kids in the hospital that are good kids, and they shouldn't be there right now, man.
You knew these kids? I'm sorry, we're just getting
Yes, I know all of them. I know all the kids that were here that got shot. Yes, they're good kids. They're not bad kids. My wife and me throw barbecues in the court. I invite all the kids to come. It's right here. It's just sad to see that. It really is.
You saw this thing go down. Walk me through.
No, I heard the shots and I came to where the scene happened, and I see the girl laying down, and they were holding a rag on her neck. She said being shot, and the other kids took off running. And from what I understand now, that the ambulance, somebody called the ambulance. There was 2 other boys that were in the group that got picked up because they got shot also.
Did you take any video or pictures on your phone?
Nah, I've no video or nothing like this. This was, all I heard was the gunshots, and I came over here to attend to the kids. I called the ambulance, and hopefully the girl is okay, and the other 2 kids are fine, man. I just, my wife works in the doctor's office, and she's in shock right now. She's not letting the kids come out after what happened. There's a lot of stuff going on right by the circle here, right in front of the Applebee's circle.
That's right by you.
Right by me. So we're not letting the kids out for now. Until things get settled. Somebody gets picked up for this.
You saw, so there was as far as you understand, there was a drive-by. These 2 groups knew each other.
Basically it was a drive-by, and they jumped out the car and shot at a bunch of teenage kids.
Roughly how old are these kids?
The guys that were shooting, from what one of the kids told me, they were like in their 20s, 20, 25.
And the group of kids were how old that you recognize?
They were like 14 to like 18 years old. They were young. They're young kids. They're not, these guys that came, from what I heard, the other tenants here in the building, which I know, they said that some of the guys looked in their 20s older. Like they were older kids.
How old are you, Vincent?
I'm 47 years old.
So you grew up in Queens?
I grew up here. I've been living here in Fresh Meadows for like 35 years. I've been with my baby's mom,
You remember what it was like when we were kids?
Yes. Nothing.
The rough patch that we went through.
Yes.
What is that?
I grew up, it was worse when I was growing up, but it's getting bad. It's getting back to where it was back in the day. I'm gonna be honest, it's getting the way it was. We don't got drugs out here in the street. These kids are not using any drugs. They're not selling anything. These are good kids live in Fresh Meadows because this happened to good kids. They don't live in South Jamaica, Queens. They don't live by the promenade. It's freaking Fresh Meadows. For this to happen here, everybody today is in shock. And
as far as you know, the shooter, there was one shooter, multiple shooters. Did they get out of the car and open
from
fire
what
on
I
these kids?
understand, they came out the car, they had words, somebody from the group that was shooting was videotaping this. Very stupid. I hope they get caught. They shot at the kids. Unbelievable, man. I'm still like shocked from seeing the girl, you know, on the floor. Because I got a daughter.
Do you know her family?
No, I don't. I know that she hangs around with the kids in the group, you know. She's fairly new to the group, you know. But they all hang out, you know, together. 15 kids, you know, they hang out in the group, you know, they hanging out, you know. They're not doing nothing crazy, you know, but I guess they saw them in the group and this happens. You know, I don't know.
Did you call 911?
Yes, I did. I called 911 right away. I got the ambulance to come in and treat the girl, and I had to step away from the scene because they closed the scene down for the gun shells all over the floor, and we walked away. I tried to talk to the other kids that were in shock. I told them, come to my court, sit down and relax, and they told me that they don't really know them. Some of them didn't know the people that did that to them. They were a group of 10. Only 3 got hit, you know.
Can you circle back to what you said about some previous words that were had between the two groups? How did you hear that? Can you flesh
From
that
what
out
I
a little
understand, one of the tenants here said that they were having words, and I figured, you know, they were some old guys were driving by and said something to the girls, and you know, the younger guys said something back. I thought it was you know, back and forth, but they came out and shot these kids up for no reason.
Thank you.
What's your name,
You
sir?
have a good day. Vincent
And your last name, Vincent?
Hurtado.
Can you spell it for me?
Hurtado.
Thanks for your time, Vincent.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks,
you guys.
Vince.
Because the shell casings are outside of the car, so there's a shooting from the inside.
In this neighborhood, and there's nothing like that happened since we lived here. So yeah, that's surprising. We just got home from
quiet, family oriented, you know, friendly. That's all you know.
And hearing about what happened this afternoon, your thoughts?
I'm devastated, shocked.
shock. Yeah, it's scary too.
My alert is up now. It's crazy.
Did you guys hear anything, see anything?
We just came
No,
home
we
from
just-
work,
yeah.
literally. Just came home from work.
Yeah, so you work for U-Haul?
Big ass. Yeah.
What's your name?
David.
David. And
Yeah.
what's your last name?
Smart.
S-M-A-R-T.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Sabrina Smart.
Sabrina.
Yeah, my wife.
S-E-B-R-I-N-A.
S.A. or E?
Yeah, that's mine.
S-A.
That's my wife.
David, what's your reaction to hearing this in
And I
this
just
neighborhood?
told him, devastated, shocked, on high alert now. Never thought something like this would happen.
Yeah.
This precinct generally considered pretty safe, I think.
Definitely. Friendly, like I said, friendly neighbors, friendly people walking by. We say hi to everybody. It's
Is there an issue with kids hanging out on the street?
not that we see, you know.
Sabrina, what's your reaction?
Well, I'm shocked. Like, it's here, a lot of families and kids, and it's quiet. And yeah, I'm not used to that. Like, hearing something like that is scary.
And the victims are all teenagers, 14-year-old and 2 18-year-olds.
It's young too. I don't even have any words for that.
Thank you all.
Thanks, folks.
you.
Yeah, I'm
Appreciate
sorry we
it.
don't have more guys. Yeah.
I've been here for 15 years and I've never seen, ever since the window, ever since, that's all I can, you know, can think of, but, hi.
Could you tell me, like, what did you witness at the scene around 4 o'clock?
So this afternoon I was upstairs in my building, it was connected to this garage over here, and I heard at first it was like a car backfiring, I thought, but then I realized it was too rapid to be that. It was like boom, 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 boom. And I just let it go at first, then I started hearing the sirens, so I kind of came down to check out what was going on, and from what I heard, there were, I think, 3 people that were shot at this point, and a 14-year-old girl. Yeah.
So obviously this area is a pretty relatively safe neighborhood.
It's a really,
What's your
really
thoughts and
quiet
reactions
neighborhood.
to it?
Yeah. It's all families. We have a preschool right there. You know, this doesn't happen around here. It's a quiet, family-oriented neighborhood.
You know, what's your reactions to it, and what should the city deal with the epidemic of gun violence?
Oh, it's horrifying. I mean, this shouldn't be happening anywhere, and we definitely need, you know, tougher gun control. The city and the state need to do something about this, because there's no words. You know, children are being shot in a quiet neighborhood.
Did you see any, like, you know, anyone from the scene, or were you just...
No, I didn't see anything. I heard the sound of the gunshots, and like I said, I heard, you know, the sirens afterwards, and I realized when I started seeing buses being rerouted that something was obviously wrong. You know, I walk my dog right over here every day, like on this opposite side, and I would have been down here at that time, but thank God I wasn't. And I mean, I don't know if there's any correlation, but we have this Wyndham Hotel over here that ever since the pandemic lockdown started, they've been housing inmates from Rikers, and I think there's a homeless population there. I hope it's not related, but, you know, I don't know.
There was another scene on Saturday.
Sorry?
You said there was another scene up there, right?
3 weeks ago, in this building across the same complex, a woman, somebody had broken into her apartment, and she woke up to someone standing over her, like, with a cell phone. And then I think 2 weeks ago there was another incident by the Key Food not far away. A woman was killed, actually. She was assaulted and she died.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I heard it was a woman. I said I hope it was a domestic dispute about my custody of the preschool. That was my initial
We ready?
Now we are.
Okay, thank you all for coming today. I'm Assistant Chief Ruben Beltran, the Commanding Officer of Patrol Borough Queens South. Joining me is Deputy Chief Jerry O'Sullivan, the Commanding Officer of Queens South Detectives, and Deputy Inspector Kevin Chan, the Commanding Officer of the 107th Precinct. I want to remind you that the information I'm about to provide is preliminary, and as this incident is only a few hours old. Earlier today, at approximately 4:10 p.m., officers responded to a report of a person shot in front of 6450 188th Street, located within the confines of the 107th Precinct. Upon arrival, officers discovered a 14-year-old female with a gunshot wound to her neck. Officers immediately began to render first aid and requested EMS. EMS responded and transported the victim to Long Island Jewish Hospital, where she is in critical but stable condition. A short time later, EMS responded to 2 other nearby locations where 2 18-year-old males called 911 to report they were shot. One male sustained a gunshot wound to the abdomen, and the other male was shot in the hip. EMS transported both males to New York Presbyterian Queens Hospital, where they are in stable condition. A preliminary investigation revealed that a group of approximately 10 to 12 people, who were not all known to each other, were walking on the sidewalk heading northbound on 188th Street. 2 vehicles pulled up to them, and several males exited the vehicles and exchanged words with one or more of the people on the sidewalk. During the argument, one of the males from the car fired numerous rounds, striking the victims. Immediately after the shooting, the suspects fled the scene in their vehicles heading north on 188th Street. At this time, there are no arrests, and I'm urging anyone who has any information or any video of this senseless shooting to call us at 1-800-577-TIPS. All calls will be kept strictly confidential. And I'll take a few questions.
Chief, do you think one of the people in the group that was walking was the target of these people in the car?
The investigation is still preliminary, so we're still investigating that.
The two males who left were injured. Did they know they were shot and just ran, or were they unaware they'd been shot?
Eventually they became aware that they were shot, and they did call 911 to receive treatment for their injuries.
At the scene, though, do you know if when they left here?
Yeah, that's also part of the investigation.
Chief, what was the nature of the argument, and how many of the people who were walking on the street knew the gentlemen who were in the vehicles that showed up?
Right now, the nature of the dispute and in terms of the people, the relationship of the people involved with that dispute are also part of the investigation.
The group of kids
to identify the shooter?
It's still under investigation.
The group of people, a dozen people you said, were they coming from a nearby school all together?
That's also under investigation, where they were coming from and where they were going to.
All right, thanks very much.
Should we start in Spanish?
Oh, sure. I just want you to know, when it does in Spanish, he's going to answer all the questions.
Okay, yo soy subjefe Rubén Beltrán, yo soy el comandante de la comandancia de la patrulla para el área del sur de Queens, en Nueva York. Aquí conmigo está el jefe, Jerry O'Sullivan. Él es el jefe de los detectives en el condado Queens South. Y también tengo el comandante del cuartel 107, Deputy Inspector Kevin Chan. La información que yo voy a decir ahora es preliminaria y no se ha confirmado en este momento. Este incidente ha pasado recientemente, hace unas cuantas horas. Pero más temprano hoy, a las 4:10 de la tarde, oficiales respondieron a un reporte de una persona herido por un balazo en la dirección 64/50 y la calle 188, aquí en Queens, en el área del cuartel 107. Y cuando los oficiales llegaron, descubrieron a un joven, una femenina que tenía 14 años y estaba herida por un balazo en el cuello. Los oficiales ayudaron el menor y también pidieron ayuda por EMS para ayudarla. Ella fue, la ambulancia la llevaron a ella a Long Island Jewish Hospital y ahora está a condición estable, pero todavía está crítica. Y también en ese momento, hace cerca de ese tiempo, también recibimos 2 llamadas en esta área, en 2 diferentes lugares, a donde encontramos 2 más heridos por balazos. Esos 2 hombres que tenían 18 años, y todo pasó en el mismo incidente. La investigación que tenemos ahora es que habían como 10 hasta 12 jóvenes que estaban caminando en esta calle, y un carro estaba pasando, paró por un momento, había una discusión, y después un hombre sacó una pistola y empezó y había un tiroteo y después terminó con esas 3 personas víctimas. Ahora, en este momento no hay arrestos y estamos pidiendo que algún testigo que tenga información o un video de este tiroteo, que lo pueda llamar a 1-800-577-TIPS, y toda la información va a ser al secreto.
¿No se conocía el grupo? ¿Era como que el carro venía?
Algunos fueron conocidos, pero algunos también fueron desconocidos.
Pregunta, la joven de 14 años fue encontrada en una locación, uno de 18 en otra, otro de 18, ¿en qué radio más o menos?
Sí, la que tenía 14 años fue atrás de nosotros aquí, en este lugar aquí, y los otros 2 como en 2 o 3 cuadros de este lugar. Sí.
¿Alguna descripción del sospechoso que disparó?
En este momento todavía está sobre investigación.
Gracias. Gracias, Chief.
Gracias.
Thanks much.
Good.